it constitutes serious violations of international law. I think the international relations people will also look at it from a different perspective, because international relations is about what really happens in international in international politics, geopolitics, and so on. But international law is looking at what ought to be. And if you are looking at it from that angle, you can see serious violations of international law from the perspective of, from the angle where Russia has taken this course of action. And when there are violations of international law, certainly there are repercussions. So quickly, I want to go through some of these violations, and then I will come to the situation in Ghana. First of all, Russia is talking about the fact that it has recognized some 2 republics, and these 2 republics are being attacked by Ukraine. Recognition of states in international law is up to any state. It's a political act of recognizing a state and developing a relationship with the state. But it comes to certain conditions, and these conditions are cemented usually by the recognition of the state by an international organization such as the UN. In this case, the UN has rejected Russia's attempt to recognize these states. And so the next issue is that it could border on aggression. And apart from that, there's also the issue of annexation of the territory, as well as issues about conquest in relation to the laws of war. And so looking at it from these angles, Russia cannot claim that it is saying that it wants to demilitarize Ukraine and is sending peacekeeping forces. All these elements of demilitarization and peacekeeping come in after a war has been fought and concluded, and the parties begin to sit down at the negotiating table. That's where you talk about demilitarization, you talk about demobilization, you talk about disarmament, reintegration, and so on. So on different fronts, Russia is violating international law. Now, the impact of it in terms of, specifically in the African context, it can be direct and indirect. And most of it could be negative. For example, you're talking about the fact that Ukraine engages in what we call academic diplomacy, but there's a number of African students studying over there. So it is, the universities are promoting the good name of Ukraine, of course, also at the same time getting some money for the universities. But it's also, the European government is also helping the universities to sell the name of Ukraine through education. And so it is creating problems for African students studying there. According to the figures, there are about 1,000 or so Ghanaian students alone. There are a number of Nigerian, Ethiopian, Egyptian, and other students studying there. And so that is going to affect the academic calendar. It's going to affect students' ability to complete their programs. And so that is one area we need to look at. Already, you know that most of them actually go and study medicine. You know how the medical school situation is in Ghana. And so it's going to compound that problem. Ukraine